This one's a fairly big leg. We from Halls Creek to Broome in one hit. We left the Hall Creek camp out of our state, that'd be Queensland time, and we got into Broome about 8:30 that night. Yes, 262 k's from where we pulled out on the highway to Fitzroy Crossing. It's an open sort of country, starts getting a little bit hilly, and you got these ranges in the distance, and then when you get there they're like it's funny jump up sort of country on big lookout on the side of the road there, and you're looking back out over the valley. It's a bit strange sort of setup, you flat country on one side and big drop off on the other. And then you got these ranges that runs, oh gee, it's a coral reef. It used to run across from this end of the world right up to nearly to the coast, up what do you call it, King Leopold Ranges or something. We checked that out on the way back when we come out from Broome back to Derby, and then come down the Gibb River Road back down to Fitzroy Crossing on the way back. And this time we just hot shot up to get over to Broome. Here's that range thing part of it here. It's an actual coral reef, a weird looking setup, and it goes just heads north south basically, right across the flat. The old countryman here, he's him and his missus and a pram, and they just walk alongside the road. I don't know where they're going, but a long way out there from anywhere, and they just pushing the pram along the side of the road with all the gear in her and pull up under a tree there for a spell. And it's a long old walk wherever they were going. Just coming into Fitzroy Crossing. It's used to be a really rough place once upon a long time ago. They're just renowned for beer bottles and stuff. This Fitzroy River, it's the Fitzroy River where we come from is the biggest catchment in Australia, I think. And this one here is just same name, but it carries the most water in Australia. It's not as long as the one over home. It carries a hell of a lot of water. But yeah, they cleaned it all up a lot. Back in the early days, they moved all the, when the Aborigines got the right to equal pay on the stations, stations couldn't afford to pay them all, so they kicked them all off. But what they did was put about 6 different tribes here in one place, so they've just been blowing for years. Up until recently, they finally got it sorted a bit. This one here, like our lizards, filled, not grilled, so I don't know what that means, they're eating them or what's going on. Or our fairly neck lizard. Communities, national parks. It's good country. I like being over there, but it's a long way between, a bit like fishing. There's good things there, but a lot of travelling in between them. They're starting to get into the Boab country now. The country's sort of changing. Starting to get a few these Boab trees. Never seen them before. We got bottle trees where we come from, but not like these fellas. They sort of spread out all over big trees. Weird looking things, huh? And the big fellas on the side of the road, he's just near the Derby turnoff where the junction go right into Derby and left to Broome. He's not the jail tree one that is so famous. Catch him up on the way back. Well, have a proper look at all this place on the way back. And turn left there and head for Broome. And another 179 k's. This Woolley is another good spot. The roadhouse on top on the riverbank there. The caravan parking behind it, cattle walking around amongst caravans. Helicopter buzzing around, don't know what he's doing. The sun, she's just going over the horizon. The last turn up just before Broome, now we're in the Broome. So we got in here about 8 o'clock. My mate, he wasn't in town the night. He's still away, so we just parked up in his yard. And he come home next morning. We spent about 3 weeks here. Had a lot of stuff around the place, and we went out a lot of the outlying areas, and yeah, had a good old look around. So as you're coming into Broome, one of the first things I noticed was the height of the street lights. As you're coming into the airport's over on your right, and there's a big roundabout, and the street lights are only half height because the planes come in straight across the road, and so they haven't got enough clearance to have normal height street lights. Into Ted's, as you're coming in to town, down the street, it's easy to find, just down the road, he says, and you come past the Shell Servo, and then you come past the jail, and we're just next door to the jail, so not real hard to find. It's a proper jail, but apparently they check themselves in and check themselves out as they come and go, half of them, as they please. So anyway, we got set up in Ted's yard, and later on, or next morning, the next first order of business is to go and find ourselves a coffee shop, because we're bits of coffee snobs. So we found this the mobile thing. Obviously, I'll go out there. It's this Japanese cemetery. This mobile coffee shop out there. It's coffee van. It's really good. And there's just heaps of people there. They've got 2 girls on the ground walking back like they used to do in the old American diners. They walk back along the cars taking the orders. One stand on the ground, handing the orders out the window and taking the money, and 2 inside, and they're just pouring the coffee at it. We're sitting around outside the vans and whatever, having a beer, and one day and they got this very peculiar sort of a visitor. The biggest prime mantis, what did I say? Prime mantis I've ever seen. And he just come and landed on the esky, but I've never seen one that big before. It's another one of the old Blackwater crew. It's Bear and Deb, and they turned up. They came up from Tenterfield. Spent a couple of weeks there together, and then we left, and they stayed behind over there. They stayed over there for another couple of months, I think. Anyway, we're there one day, and this other weird little dude turns up on a motorbike. And he's a mate of Ted's, and he'd come from Darwin to Broome, and he pulled in to see if Ted had any work. This come all the way from Darwin like this, on this little old motorbike, and he was that well trained to even let this bloke sit on the back behind him all the way. He's a pretty well trained dog. And we went for a look around downtown. One of the first things that strikes you about downtown is a lot of these buildings are made out of corrugated iron, and they're still the original from the old Pearland days.
The Streeters Jetty is a real landmark. For years, Streeters Jetty was Broome's only jetty, and it was established after Streeters arrived in Roebuck Bay. It was much longer and went out to the mangrove front, servicing the pearling fleet so they could land their mother of pearl shell. The Streeters Jetty is significant as one of the oldest and only remaining jetty used by the pearl luggers to deposit pearl, the mother of pearl.
Planes fly straight over the top of towns, and Lois is laying down on flat on the back on that jetty taking photos of that.
The Streeters Jetty was built for pearl dealers and merchants Streeter and Co. of London, and is known to have been in existence in 1897. There was a channel cut through the mangroves to Dampier Creek, providing access to the Streeters Jetty for luggers and other small vessels. Associated with the jetty were the Streeter and Mail stores on Short Street, and in 1897 the government provided a town jetty at Mangrove Point, and a tramway was built to link the jetties and Chinatown. The tramway operated until 1948, and the jetty is subject to great variations in tide, being sometimes actually covered in water.
And then you got these bronze statues all dedicated to the pearl divers. Everything over there sort of more around, mostly around pearl divers, and that's where all the money come from in the first place, probably still does, and tourists now. But these bronze statues, you can read all on the plaques about who they were and what they were all about and all the rest of it. And it featured pretty well in the Second World War too, with the Japanese bombed at this heap of what I call them, flying boat planes. I can't think of the name of them now from the war. They're out in there. You can find them at low tide, where they bombed them all parked in the bay at the front there. There's a bit of a thing at the front of the old theatre. She's still the original from 1916, and they got big high tides, so big king tides, and the tides come straight through underneath the seats. And out the back of it, you got an area out the back, which is like an open air theatre thing, and the tide will come all the way up through it. And when we're sitting out the back there, the planes fly straight across the top. You sit there, watch the movie, and the seats, and you can't really hear what's going on. The planes just fly straight over it. You can see the belly of the plane, because they're really low, because the airport's not very far away, and they're still getting up, I think. So that was interesting, the planes flying over your movies.
One of the places on Broome's Heritage Trail is the Japanese cemetery. The restoration of this cemetery was made possible through funds donated by the chairman of the Japanese Shipbuilding Industry Foundation, and also through the endeavours of a senator of the Japanese Parliament who actually initiated this project. This Japanese cemetery is the largest of its kind in Australia, and the cemetery pays tribute to the Japanese people who lost their lives during Broome's pearling boom in the early 20th century. More than 700 graves can be found here, most of which commemorate Japanese divers who died from either decompression sickness or drowning while diving for pearls. The first actual interment in this cemetery is in 1896.
In the wildlife habitat, there's a sail maker. That's still the original building. And there's a thing here with the dinosaur tracks. There's dinosaur tracks around out. I'll show you later. And bloke cut one of them out with a concrete saw, and we're going to sell it, and they end up finding it somehow, and they put it in there. It's our original courthouse. There's another one of the heritage things. You can pretty much walk all over the main part of town. It's not very big. When we were there was markets on, and they had a mob there had a stand. They were trying to stop coal mining of the Kimberley, and one of the pictures there of how much damage the coal miners do. And I said, that picture wasn't taken here. And she said, I'm not sure where it was taken. I said, yeah, well, I am. I come from central Queensland, Yarrabee, my brother-in-law's truck. And you got this park land there, that's to do with Dampier. I think I'll get lost to do a bit of commentating on this, all this. She got a book there written all about it. And there's a boat around the kiosk, and the story about the World War II mob, that's all dedicated to there. The park's about where Dampier came ashore, and whenever day he got there, and that arrow on that thing points to the direction where they think his priceless chest might be buried. And that thing in the middle of the paddock there, like a big box, that's a replica of his chest. So we better go and find it. Might be pay for a trip. An old building over in the background. Didn't notice that before. Buddha sanctuary. It's in the back of somebody's yard, this thing. It's sort of behind the house, and they just leave it open for visitors. A fairly dedicated Buddhist, I think, to be building that, but it's a bit of a Buddhist community there. I think that would have come from the Pearl days as well, I'd reckon. It's fairly well done, set up. There's the bay, the actual harbour out there in the distance. Then you go around more out on the western side of the peninsula that Broome's on, and that's where the harbour is. These are dinosaur tracks in the sediments there, and got to be down low tide, I think it is, because they go underwater. But they're dead set dinosaur tracks. They've been paddling in the mud there. Dinosaurs were definitely a real thing. There's a big thing out in Winton, Queensland about them, and it's ever in that part of Queensland, definitely worth having a look at them. But this is where our mate cut the one off with the power saw, and he cut that out of the rock. Pretty dedicated. They were going to sell it to somebody.
Ganthiamere Point Lighthouse, or Ganthiamere, however you pronounce it. What you see now is actually the fourth version, with the original being built in 1905. And it was one of only 10 lighthouses that was built on the West Australian coast between the 1900s and 1913, with most of them actually being built on the northwest coast. In early 1910, the original lighthouse was replaced by a more substantial structure, and then in 1917 it went real modern when the light was converted from kerosene to automatic operation with acetylene. And this eventually made the lighthouse keeper redundant. This second tower survived until the early 1960s, when it was replaced by a steel lattice tower and a new lantern. The current tower was erected in 1984 and is powered by mainstream electricity. A house was provided for the lighthouse keepers, and the original home, which sat near the actual lighthouse, served as the lighthouse keeper's quarters from around 1906. But when the light was automated, the residence was no longer required for a lighthouse keeper, so it was sold and purchased by a local pearler, who was the ex-police sergeant of Broome, Pat Percy, and his wife Anastasia. The lighthouse keeper's house fell into disrepair and eventually burnt down around 1970, leaving only the stone fireplace and chimney, which was actually restored by the Historical Society, so as what you see today.
Another thing I noticed too, this part of the thing is all red. The sand's red, the dirt's red, the whole place is sand anyway. The country's all sand. But around this side, the country's all red, and when you go around the other side, where we'll go later, where the camels are, the sand's as white as. It's on the opposite side of the peninsula thing. But this is as red gets, and around the other side is white as. There are definitely some spectacular sunsets there, but there's always heaps of people out there watching them. And here's the white side, and the colour of the water over there too sort of stands out pretty well, I thought. But yeah, that side's red as, this one's white as. This were a big resort. Bloke built a big zoo there, and they had all sorts of African animals, and for a long time, way back, probably 70s, 80s or somewhere back there. Then he ended up going broke, so now that resort part is still there. And this is the Cable Beaches where the humpty-back camels come along. And people drive down on the beach there when it's getting sunset time. And the people watching the thing is a spectacle now on the sunset. They drive all their cars down over these rocks and go and park up down the other end there, and there's just lines and lines and lines of four-wheel drives down there, all watching the sunset. There's a designated track that you follow to get in there, and you go down. Well, we didn't bother about taking my car down. I don't do beaches with my car. do a lot of other stuff with it, but they don't do beaches. They don't like the salt water idea. Here come the camels. They're the most famous camels in the world, these fellas, I reckon. Then we went up for a look up, not that far. You go up, Cape Lviv they call it, and anyway that's where all the pearl farms are. So we went up and had a look at a couple of them, do a tour thing. Shows you all about how they do the pearls and how they grow them, how they harvest them and mount them and all that sort of stuff. And I was feeling a bit sentimental. I thought I might buy the missus one. I had a look in the cabinet, and this really nice gold nugget, and the pearl was mounted in the gold nugget in a necklace. I thought, oh, that's nice. Yeah, $40,000 worth. And now missed out. And the nugget had actually come from Halls Creek. So then we went up. Ted took us for a tour, as he's been an elder of the community over there, and a lot of these places you're supposed to have permits and that to get into, and Ted reckon, I don't need no bloody permit. I go, well, I said, well, I'm with him. Country's all sandy, and from wanting to keep grading the roads, it keeps getting deeper and deeper, and the sides are that steep that the cars have got to climb up the side of the banks to pass one another. So somebody's coming, you got to climb right up on the side of the bank, otherwise it's too, you can't fit past on it.
Beagle Bay community was established by monks around 1890. It was in 1884 that the first ever preacher arrived to serve the Catholics in the Kimberleys and to try to convert the Aboriginal people. The first Catholic school was established by the Trappist Fathers at Beagle Bay in 1892. But in 1901, the Palatine Fathers from Germany took over Beagle Bay Mission with 2 priests and 4 brothers. In 1907, the St. John's of God Sisters began to run a mission school at Beagle Bay, and in 1918, the famous Beagle Bay Sacred Church was opened. The Beagle Bay Mission subsequently became home to Indigenous people from across the Kimberleys and further afield. The community is managed through its incorporated body, the Billiard Aboriginal Corporation. The only store in town is owned and operated by the local community council.
These things here were the accommodation houses and the outbuildings, like the little dairy things, and it was its own little community. And it's pretty good. They got it, pretty well maintained and whatever. There's a woman here who runs this show, and she's cracking the whip on these fellas here. Aren't you lazy bastards? Get out there and do something. So, they got it pretty nice, and it's welcome visitors in there and whatever. And there's a few of these places like that are really nice little spots. And a couple of the locals, we used to do that when we were kids too. Can't do it now in our end of the world. And there's a real road, but we've got to do the back one, to just see what's in the back road. This goes down along the beach for a few k's and comes back out onto the main road again. A lot of really wide beaches, mudflat scum beaches. And this is the other place. This one here was built by the missionaries too. And that's all built out of mangrove wood, and that's all original and built in the 1800s or whenever it was, and they still use it. And this is one of them funny little communities. When you drive in, all to the left's all green manicured lawns, all to the right's all upside down cars and busted fences and busted houses and mangy dogs and whatever, and there's a lane in between it, and the one on the left there's two different communities, and the one on the left is they really look after everything, and the mob on the other side don't care about anything, and they're always balloon amongst each other too. One side's got all the shop and the fuel and everything, the other one's got nothing. This is right up on the top of One Arm Point, and where they still catch turtles, and they cook them and eat them on the spot here. There's old bleached turtle shells and bones and stuff been lying around. They've been under there for a long time, and that's out across there. That's where that horizontal waterfall is. Either take a boat trip out there or fly out and have a look. It would have been good to have a look, but we never got there. There's a big couple got a barra farm up there too. It took us in and had a look at that. That wasn't supposed to be open to public either, I don't think. Ted knew the bloke there, so we got in and had a look at that. And this is a cemetery, and these Corellas come here by the hundreds, and they're getting a drink out of the leaking tap there. And that's just fresh water. Cool. We went back to town and a couple of days off, and then Ted knows a bloke out here, and it's right up in the top. You go back out towards Derby at 100 and something k's, and you go 90, cut down off the highway, go 90 odd k's north, and then at 20 odd k's, 28 k's I think it was, through this scrub, which is just regrowth wattle scrub, and like the road's just completely overgrown. And these two blokes had this whole one old Toyota wagon and one old Nissan wagon, and they just plough straight through there, and I'd be a big shiny one there. They pull the mirrors in, and these trees scratching all down the side, and yucky. We went through all this and got out on a flat. There's another community in here. We had a look at that. I got out there, must be here somewhere, and we turned around the clearing on the beach, like a clear patch of sand, and bang, put it straight through my front tire and sand hill. This is how the tide's coming over there.
You see that running in? You see that running in?
You need to be a little bit careful where you park. Camp, you might get wet ass. So this community here, this was one of the ones that was built before the country went over there. And the old people were here for a fair while, and then they got crook, so the doctors advised them to move back into Derby for medical issues, although it's not that far across the Gulf there to Derby, and there's a helipad and everything there. But anyway, so when the whole couple moved out, all the rest of them just bolted, and these blokes where we're going, we got another 20 k's past this, I think it is, where we're going to. Our mate reckoned, he said them bastards might live out there, they're scared of the bush. So they abandoned all this and went back to town. This is at the same time that there was a big hoo-ha in WA about the government shutting down these communities, turning the power off and whatever. Well, that's part of the other side of the story. A lot of the communities, they just walked off and left them, so no point supplying power to them. But these blokes, they got a little block around the corner. It's right on the beach of this. So after we had a bit of a look around that community thing there, and these two, well, four of them, and two vehicles turned up, and they go, this is where we were going to, and so we followed them up. I don't know, 9, 10 k's, don't know, through the bush a bit more, and they got a 20-acre block right on the shores of King George Town, on the western side of it. And I got the GPS thing on my phone to draw a line across to Derby. You can actually see the lights of Derby Harbour from where we were, and it was 47 k's, give or take, across, just on a straight line straight across the Derby. But anyway, these blokes have got this block, and they got a full-on big headstone grave thing there, and that was one of their brothers that he'd had a bit of a kerfuffle out there one night, and he was going to walk off back into one of these towns, which is probably 100 k's away, and as the crows fly. And there's a creek not far from where the little camp setup is, and our mate didn't make it, so the Crocs got him, and they had helicopters out there, and then they funded their own helicopter search, and that other family did after that. They never did find him. So anyway, they strung a fish net out across it, just laid it out on the beach, and then floats on it, and then high tide lifted it up during the night. So we were down there at daybreak or sunrise there, getting these fish, and I think they got 8, not barra, some other fish. I don't know much about fish. Anyway, they got 8 good ones. They got a heap of baby sharks, and then a couple others, and a couple of barra, and they didn't have a fridge, so it had a good sized fish too, and they didn't have a fridge, so I put them all in my fridge. And then we were going home the next day, and I said to these blokes here, what are you going to do with these fish? You want to take them, keep them, or what? They said, oh, we're going to give the one barra to that other fella, their visitor fella, and you can have the rest. So we had a big fridge full of fish. He said, you can have them, mate, we'll just go get some more later on. But when we first got there, their mate, he'd just on dark, and he'd taken off with the fishing line down to the creek. And I could hear him singing out down the creek. I said to these blokes, hey, your mate's singing out down there. There's something going on down there. Yeah, he got a salmon. So he come wandering up later on with this bloody salmon with the fingers in the gills and his tail dragging on the ground. And he said I could have caught it by hand. And he said there was just a big school of them and just threw the line out in him and hooked him. And he said I could have caught it by hand, but the water just boiled him. He said, they probably crocs in there too, so he wouldn't go in there. So anyway, they cooked it up on the fire that night, and just ate like in the alfoil and that. And just ate half of him, and then the rest of him sort of didn't get eaten, so they just go and get another one later. And this is where we were camped. It's a good little spot. I'm welcome to go back there any time we like, whether Ted's there or not. There's our mate Ted wandering around there scaling fish with the Lois on the phone. They're in the middle of absolute nowhere. And got perfect phone service out there. And once we went back to town for a couple of days, and then we were packing up to leave, and this is Ted's gear, and he's taking a donga into them fellas, and you can only take the truck in so far. So we went out with him and drove his ute out, and then Lars come out and picked me up. So and then we just left from there. But anyway, they unload the loader, and the float at the back there, and clean the road up that we're talking about with all the wattle trees and that. Clean that road up all the way into their thing, and then take that donga in that boat, and paying Ted to take her out there. So she's a bit of a mission, but we were gone by the time they got it in there. But yeah, it's quite an interesting sort of a place. But anyway, that's about the end of Broome, so we'll see you then, Derby. Righto, where are we going next?
I don't know. That way?